Hello, and welcome to this month's LinkedIn Lovin', where we're shining a light on the world's leading B2B social media platform. That is, of course, LinkedIn. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Chris Wilson. He's a communication and sales coach, and he's going to talk to us about how our voice could be the one thing we need to help us stand out, build trust faster, and bring that human touch back into our marketing. I think which is very, very important, isn't it, in today's AI world as it is. So hello and welcome, Chris.
Hello, Judy. It's great to see you today.
Thank you so much for joining me. Just quickly before we start, because if anyone here is new to these LinkedIn Love-ins, I'm wondering what the heck they are. They are short, bite-sized LinkedIn learnings over lunch. And each month I'm joined by a guest expert to share their expertise on subjects that will help our LinkedIn activity and results. So I do like to make these as active as or interactive as possible even. So if you do have any questions, please pop them in the comments box for Chris and we will come and answer them as quickly as possible. But I just thought we might kick off with a bit of a audience question for you. And if you think about the last couple of days where you've been talking to clients and prospects, I say talking, that almost sounds like you're using a voice, but what actual percentage of your interactions have actually been vocal as opposed to text or any other form of communication? Be really interesting to understand how much people are using their voice, maybe not even fully aware of that, perhaps. So let's get started. So, Chris, vocal communication, you always say it's a superpower, which I love. What actually is it, and why is it such a superpower for us?
Well, it's something that is unique to you. You all have a voice that is your own and nobody else can replicate it, even though you think AI has a good job. It is uniquely yours. But the other thing it does from a biology perspective is that it hits something in our brain called the amygdala. Now, that little walnut shaped item is the decider of what happens next. It links to fight or flight. And when we use our voice by method of communication, particularly when we use surprise or anger or volume or just curiosity, the amygdala picks up on that and then sends a little neural signal to the prefrontal cortex, this bit here, that says, this is interesting. I need to take notice of this, either because it could cause me harm or it could enable me to thrive. And that's why the voice is a superpower, because it cuts through, tells the amygdala to take notice, and then puts you in charge of the space you're in.
Wow, a bit of science for us there is in the background. So is that why then, if we use our voice, our audience are more likely to connect more deeply with us, rather than if they just, like I will hold my hands up, I will hide behind, sending messages on LinkedIn. I'm really bad at doing that. I'll just send a text, and some people even ask me, can you email me? But it's still written word. So, but will people connect more deeply if I try and use my voice more?
Well, there's a lot of answers to this one, Judy, honestly. First of all, I think the method of writing is quite quick and simple and easy.
Yes.
And you can read it back and you can check it. And before you send it, you think, yeah, that feels okay. But from a learning perspective, all of us will learn in a number of ways. And the four most common will be vocal and visual and reading and kinesthetic. And when we go on video on LinkedIn, we're automatically going to hit three of those because we can be visual with whatever we're doing. We can be vocal with our acoustic impression, and perhaps we can use body language or even use props to touch on the kinesthetic aspects. So by adding video or voice, you're going to hit three of the four learning styles, which a written word will only be able to achieve one. So that's the first part. And then there is studies by Harvard and others that says that by adding vocal aspects to your communication, you are sometimes 5 times more likely to be effective because the written word will be construed in a number of different ways. If I wrote to you a message that says, I broke the window, then you could read it that to however you interpret it. But if I put different accentuation on different aspects of that sentence, it could be I broke the window. Immediately, I'm inferring different parts of the sentence, which makes your amygdala pick up on different nuances of the way that communication lands. That's a brief summary to why actually does it work from an effectiveness of interaction with your prospects and clients.
And that's a really good point, actually, because it reminds me of, when you send an email, people, a written a word, people can misunderstand actually what you're saying in your email, can't they, and what you've actually said, and completely misconstrue it from what actually you had intended. And I know that's one of the things they say, isn't it? Never to send an email in anger or something, because it'll just come out wrong. And maybe the voice actually helps approve that or change it. Just as a matter of interest, Chris, sorry, I've just, for our audience icebreaker, which is still up on the screen, Brenda was a bit late. She just wanted to confirm the question, but it was just asking how much of you are using your voice when it comes to interacting with your clients and prospects. And there's some people sort of around the 5%. So it seems quite low. And I think I would say that as well, because I do have that tendency, as I say, to rely on the written word and not actually, sometimes I go, I'm just going to pick the phone up. Just pick the phone up. I have to actually tell myself to do that, to actually pick up the phone. But Fionn, she says 80% last week. She hasn't done any this week, but I'll let you off, Fionn. You did so much last week. So obviously Fionn is using her voice a lot. So that is really, really interesting. So we shall carry on. So AI, why is that making it even more important for us to use our voice?
Well, first of all, the 360 brew algorithm, I think, came out this year, and you'll be more proficient at this than I would be, Judy. But from what I've read, the AI algorithm change is going to be reflecting more of what is real. And therefore, if you're able to bring more reality, voice communication to your outreach or your LinkedIn posts in 2026, simply you're going to tick a better box on the 360 brew, because it's going to resonate more with you being a proper person. And secondly, I don't know about you, but I am beginning to look at things and immediately my amygdala is going, is this real or is this fake? And therefore, actually, I'm almost becoming skeptical about what I'm seeing, because I don't know whether or not it's an AI bot, an AI version of me, or is it really the person? And with that in mind, I'm just saying to people, if there's a cheat code in most things in life, we'll go for it. Weight loss drug or diet, or we're often so tempted to take the shortcut. But when you meet the person and they say, Judy, it doesn't, there's something off. You don't seem like Judy. And then you say, well, yeah, I use an audio replication of me and the videos aren't actually me. When we're trying to get that seal of trust, and the first point you're doing by way of noticing yourself is taking a shortcut or not being real, I'm asking you, is that what you want to create as your first impressions with people that want to work with you?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Chris, isn't it? Because you can tell that authenticity, isn't it? And I know this is a word that we use a lot, but I had gone to an event where they had this AI photo booth and you could get your photo taken, and you could have all different styles. And I just went for a headshot. And it was a really good picture of me, but it was just, as you say, it was off. What is it? And you can't put your finger on it, what that is. And as we know, people buy from people, don't they? So we want them to get to know us as we really are and trust us. And, why buy from me or buy from somebody else, for example, isn't it? So
yeah, I'm not dissing AI, by the way. I am a complete convert of using AI to amplify and ideate and make me more efficient in some aspects of the work that I do. And if you see my post tomorrow, it does have some LinkedIn AI generated images as part of the article, because it's an easy way for me to put visual aspects into my communication that meets the needs of the article. So use it in the right way to amplify, as opposed to replace?
Do you know what? 100%. And I think that's what everybody's kind of getting on board with now, isn't it? But it's almost going back to what can't AI copy and what can be the real us, and that's still using our voice and getting out there.
Yeah,
so I guess, yeah, sorry.
It hasn't got the emotional nuance that we've got now. I can use my tonality, I can use my pace, I can use my silence, I can use my pause, and I can weave into all of that communication the aspect of being human. I get it. AI is getting better and better at making us look more real, but it still hasn't got all the subtle nuances that will pick up on the cues, the eyebrow move, the scratch, the chin, the drop in language, the vulnerability of a quiver in the voice. That is what we've still, I believe, connect with.
And let's hope it never does, that get replaced by AI, because, goodness help us then, eh? Absolutely, because we're all just going to be the same then, aren't we, basically? And no differentiation between any of us, which is rather unfortunate. Okay, so I think we understand the importance of voice and how it can make it stand out and be different. What stops us doing it? I mean, I know we've had a conversation already about this, haven't we? But what stops people from using their voice, from not picking up the phone or going on video?
Well, it's individual to each particular person. One person could have found themselves admonished or embarrassed or ridiculed at school. They might have put their hand up and said something, and then they were mocked or told off for speaking out of turn. And that, when you're in your formative years, can be hugely destructive to that person's confidence going forward. It could be that. Or really, as you go all the way back to our roots, when a primeval tribe had to come together, we had to be accepted and we had to be part of a tribe in order for us to strive. And there's a part of us still that puts ourselves out on camera or in voice that says, will I be judged? What will they think of me? What if it doesn't land correctly? And there's a little part of us that says, oh, maybe don't do this, because what if? What is the implication of this? What's the repercussion of this? And then we ideate on that even more. And then the little voice in our head says, yeah, they're going to think you're silly. Oh, I can't believe you've just fluffed that word there, Chris. Why don't you just give this up? And this is another unmitigated disaster. And that becomes even more real. And we just become even more self-deprecating of ourselves. So many stories connect to that. But overall, it's the feeling of being judged, ridiculed, or called out. And then we sit with that. And actually, your scroll, your reel, if it didn't land, it's forgotten within a minute and they'll be off to the next one. But we sit and dwell on that for much longer than we really need to.
Do you know what? 100%. And I think so. I did a little video. It was actually yesterday for today's LinkedIn Loving, which I posted this morning. And when it actually uploaded to LinkedIn, my head was really big in there. And I'm like, oh my God, what's in big? I'm staring out and instantly I'm going, oh, Lord Judy, what have you done here? But like you say, we are our own worst critics, aren't we? Well, nobody, somebody might go, we've just got a big head or something, but they're not going to really think about it, are they? And it's just us, what we are thinking about it.
Well, for those watching live, I'm sure some of you would have seen Judy's post this morning, and don't be too harsh, but how many of us focused on how big Judy's head was, or whether she did or didn't look at the camera? Everybody just took it as a piece to camera. They listened to what you said, and then once you finished, it was interesting. But ourselves, we look for all the things that might be wrong or might not be quite right, or maybe we've missed our makeup, or the lipstick was a bit smudged. And that's what we're looking for. Whereas other people just accept it as, oh, it's Judy on LinkedIn. I wonder what she's got to say. Interesting. I'll click register, go.
Exactly. So basically, the message is just do it, get over yourself. Well, and just do it. Or maybe not, perhaps, but we'll see. So I think we need to get to a bit of the sort of practical stuff here, and like, how can we, what are the different ways? I know we're already talking about video, but how can we use our voice on LinkedIn more?
Well, I'll just preface that by also talking about comparisons, the thief of joy.
Oh, yeah.
And
yes, it is.
we are here today to talk about a tactic that may work for you in 2026. But if it makes you feel uncomfortable, or it's causing you anxiety or stress, then perhaps video isn't for you in 2026.
Oh. So I have a slight problem, Chris. Can you hear me? I've lost my audio. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? What have I pressed? Carry on without me. If you can hear me, I just can't hear you. The joy of going live on LinkedIn. The whole vocal thing has gone. Right. Okay. Sorry, Chris, I think you've lost the sound. There's me panicking. We can't hear you. Thank you, everybody. They're all going with they can't hear you either. Oh, we've lost the sound on Chris. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your comment. Oh, hurrah!
I'm back. There you
yes,
go.
You're back. Thank you. This is
the trouble with having a very posh microphone is that it's got a very little tiny button on it. And when I'm moving my hands around, I've obviously brushed the mute button. We are live.
We're back. We're back. So sorry, Chris, you're going to have to say all of that again. You were talking about the comparison, you know, thief being the comparison of joy and whatever. Yeah.
Comparison's the thief of joy. So
that's
don't feel as though this is a race that you have to join just because everybody else says that you should be doing this or you should be doing that. If it gives you stress, anxiety, or you're just not comfortable, then maybe video or voice communication isn't for you.
Yeah.
But if you are, then you could take a post a week, perhaps, and put that into your content strategy. Or you could do a voice note to congratulate, support, or just communicate with people. Not everybody likes a voice note. So as you're onboarding a client, you might say to them, by the way, sometimes I send people voice notes. How do you feel about that? And if they say, absolutely, I'm good with that, then you tick that in your CRM. And when you see a birthday or a celebration, or you see them doing something well, it's so easy just to put a little comment in the box. Why don't you just pick up your phone, press the microphone, and just say, Judy, I can't help but say, I really like the fact that you just went live today on your LinkedIn. And by the way, your face wasn't huge. I know you think it is. And you just bring some intention to it. But even with a voice note, you've only got about a minute. So think before you start, what are the first few words I'm going to say? What would I like to say? And then how am I going to finish this? And you might even rehearse it before you start to make sure you're not floundering, flustered, or fumbling your words. Because I really believe when it comes to vocal, rehearsal, practice, and intention will come out when you deliver your message.
That is really interesting, isn't it? Because I think for me, if I overthink things as well, that stops me and makes me go, lose my what I'm going to say, and I start going, kind of things as well. And also making sure that the audio is on so people can hear it. But just going back to voice notes, I think that's a really good point that you make, because I'm actually hard of hearing. I actually have to put my headset on in order to be able to hear a voice note. So I find it like, I've got to put my headset on now to listen to it. But the flip side of that, I have used voice notes to actually get a reaction from people where I've sent them a written note on we're talking about direct messages here. When we talk about voice notes, we can use our mobile to deliver an audio message. And I've done that very successfully because they've come back to me pretty much quickly straight away, having done that. So I think it really does make you different. And I think 97% of messages, direct messages on LinkedIn are obviously text messages. So having an audio one is really good.
And you can add in all of that tonality. So if you are curious, you could say, yeah, hey, Judy, by the way, sent you the proposal a couple of days ago, just making sure you got it. And if you have, I'm sure you've got some questions, but I know we're all busy at Christmas time. So maybe you can just drop me a quick thumbs up to say you've got it, and I'll rest. And when you put that curious tone and tonality and pacing into a voice note, you can communicate with so much more depth and meaning than you could by sending the same message.
Yes. And it's like having that conversation, isn't it? So much more. Jackie here makes a point as well about nuance, because she's just done a podcast interview recently, ended up laughing. And obviously would hate to think that, our laughter could be replicated. So it is that nuance, isn't it, that hopefully AI will never, ever pick up. So obviously voice notes, video, very important. We've got a question here from Cheryl about, LinkedIn being a different social media to Instagram, Facebook and TikTok, and what sort of content would you say people are looking to consume on LinkedIn? And I think this is really interesting, because I think a TikTok video or an Instagram reel works really well on LinkedIn. And I always think that content doesn't have to be different for LinkedIn. Particularly because it's just another platform on which to publish your content. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, Chris, at all.
Many thoughts.
Many
Often
thoughts.
a video or voice that's going to resonate with people would normally deal with education, emotion, or engagement. So when you start thinking about your strategy, what is your intention of your video message going to be? And also, short is good. We don't really want to see a 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute rambling video. So again, what is it going to do? And I always have the adage of teach to reach. So if we want to give value, then give somebody something meaningful that is current and relevant. So if it was the budget, for example, you could be an IFA or an accountant, and you would give your 60-second summary of what the budget means to you as a small business owner. And again, people can consume that while they're waiting for a train or on a bus stop, and it can be an audio message that helps them understand the implications of that. So be current. And then sometimes you might just want to be humorous. So this is where we could be entertaining. I know people that do the Magic Monday, they do the Tongue Twister Tuesday, do the Wealth Wednesday. I have a Friday Ripple. And it puts a strategy into your content that then means that you're going to turn up for something. There's a great accountant who's a dry fractional accountant who does Joke Friday. And it's the worst joke ever. And he builds into that 15 seconds of silence where we're all just going, I can't believe, Ben, that you just said that joke. And it's made him stand out as an interesting fractional finance person, whereas the stereotypical mold might be that they are staid, boring. Apologies if there's any accountants or financial people, but he's going against the norm of how people perceive somebody to be from finance, to be jokey, funny, and self-deprecating of himself in such a way that is funny and authentic.
And that will attract the right audience to work with him, because people who don't like that will go, I'm not working with him. But people who he probably wants to work with will be attracted by that. And so everybody, it's a win-win all around, isn't it? So are these things, your Friday Revival, etc., these are 60-second videos that you're talking about? Is this those particular? They're not longer than that, are they?
They can be, but ideally I'm trying to get 60 seconds simply because then I can use that across other platforms. So I'm not a great believer of once and done. If I can use the same piece and then put it onto my Instagram or my YouTube short or even my Facebook, then I can do that. And those platforms generally like to be a minute to a minute 30. And we're all in a war of attention. So try to condense it down. And there's a great model that the military use, which is bluff, which is build up front with your language, give them a snippet of what you're going to talk about, and then deliver on that, and then maybe give a call to action.
I love that. So that's how we could structure this. So how we would structure a 60-second video. I really like to say what you're going to talk about, deliver it, and then a call to action.
Yeah, and often you see people, hello, my name's Judy Parsons and I'm the LinkedIn lady. And today I'm going to talk about, and we've just lost 10 seconds.
Yeah.
We can see that you're Judy Parsons because it says that on your video tile and they've just clicked on your post. Sorry, the bluff is actually bottom line up front. So we say today, today I'm going to tell you why your LinkedIn voice is better in 2026. Immediately hit them with the hook. And then often from there, I'll talk about problem, solution, benefit. So if we carried on, today I'm going to talk about, and then you talk about problem. The problem is that everybody wants to get a piece of your language, and then solution. Maybe you want to bring your voice into LinkedIn and then benefit. In fact, I know somebody called Ben who's doing just that. And you can see that his client outreach has developed 15 times more because he's become consistent and persistent on his LinkedIn. And then he might have a call to A. If this resonates with you, my details are in the chat. Why don't we book a call? So problem, solution, benefit, call to action. Try to do it in 60 seconds.
I love that. That is a really good structure, one that I'm going to follow, because I think just going back to your Friday Ripple, and also, I can't remember, sorry, what Ben's was called now. Maybe we could get the link to Ben's and your Friday Ripple as well, so people can go and see. So you'll just say a little bit about what your Friday Ripple is. That's a weekly 60-second video, isn't it?
Every Friday, without fail. I'll normally be recording on a Thursday, and I'll try to find something of that week that I think is resonating or curious to me. And then I'll do a 60-second recording, and I call it my Friday Ripple because I think that ideas spread when they can be shared. That's the context. And sometimes there'll be a story. So I might be talking about, this week, I will be talking about the airport, and it's Love Actually. Everybody's watching the film, and I'll talk about being at the arrivals hall and watching people embrace, and the family that came out and said, where's dad? Well, that's a good start. And it's the aspect of seeing human connection and then using that to talk about how are you going to use your voice and connection in 2026, following along from this LinkedIn Live. So that'll be my theme for this week, trying to think about Christmas. What are people doing? Love Actually, airport. That's the stage that I'm trying to use as the piece to camera and then deliver on that.
So that's really interesting, isn't it? So it's about consistency. So it's about having a sort of a structure, Joke Wednesday or Friday Ripple, that you can then, I perhaps wouldn't say Joke Wednesday, but whatever, that you can then be known for, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, but you don't have to have a theme, but when you have a theme, it helps your own mind try to look for the clues for the week. And everybody says, oh, I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to post about. But when you have a commitment to say, I need to put something else about Friday because that's what I do, the mind is looking via the reticular activating system of clues that you can talk about or video about, because you're commanding it to say, I've got this thing on Friday or Wednesday or Tuesday that's happening. Please find something for me that's going to enable me to look as if I've got a reason to speak on Friday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. And it's just part of a rhythm.
And you know, it reminds me, I used to do Where the Heck Is That on LinkedIn, and I haven't done it for a while. And that actually could be, you know, something that I could pick back up, you know, do a little video. Where the heck is that? Just simple things like, where do you find things? Joe's just asked a quick question about, you know, keeping videos short. What's the ideal length? For me, 30 to 60 seconds. But I think you'd agree with that, which is for a video, 60 seconds. Definitely for me, I would say less.
60 seconds would be a good sweet spot. Could be less. Once you go past that 60 seconds, you've really got to be telling somebody there's value in the reason to continue watching. Because if you're just rambling and having a lots of fluff, you're dishonoring the audience's time without actually giving them any value from that interaction. Always think, am I giving value by continuing to go through this time? And if you are, then great. And some of the long play podcasts that people do give that value over 2 hours, 1 hour, but at least at the front end, they'll say, by continuing to watch, you're going to get A, B, C, D. We're going to talk about this. And hopefully the audience knows that there's going to be value by continuing to watch.
I think that's a really good point, isn't it? It's about having value. And I appreciate we're really almost on the time, but I just want to bring this question up from Brenda about videos on LinkedIn, because, you know, to be fair, I talk about doing videos a lot more, and she's right, they don't get as many views as they, you know, we've been told that the algorithm's supposed to favor them. But I actually sort of want to step back from worrying about what the algorithm or how many views that we get. They do get, I mean, we know impressions and reach is down anyway. But I think it's about, for me, video is still important, even if you don't get as many views or impressions, because it's you, as we've talked about, getting out there, your nuances, your personality. And I think that's the key, isn't it? Even it's not what the algorithm's doing. We don't know who's lurking, we don't know who's watching, and just get out there.
It is, but even on the video, you get about 8 seconds before the mind starts to wander. Therefore, you can do a change of scene. If you use software like CapCut or Riverside or others, you can put images into that to give the reticular activating system and the eyes something that's different. So it's not all about the algorithm. It could be on the content and the depth of value that you're giving in the video that allows the dwell time to hit the algorithm to say people are watching longer.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, I hope that answered that. I still think that they're valuable. I think it's all about using our voice. Is there any last minute tip you want to give about using our voice before we end, Chris? I've just dropped you in it there, but is there one thing you would say for 2026 about using our voice? What would it be?
Get comfortable with your voice. It's such a precious thing that you've got. It's unique to you, and play it back to yourself and play about with it. You have 88 notes on a keyboard that you could use. Often people stay in 2 notes, 3 notes. Play it back to yourself and start getting familiar with going high or low or pausing, or record it back to yourself. Be kind to yourself, be comfortable with it, and just have a play and see what happens.
Have a play. I love that. I think that is a great way to end, because if anything else, I love playing. So Chris, thank you so much indeed. I really appreciate your time. Thank you everybody for joining us live, and for those of you who watched the replay. And we will be back again on the 28th of January for the next LinkedIn Lovin Live with a lady called Fliss, all about branding. So I shall see you then. But in the meantime, have a wonderful Christmas and Happy New Year.